Okay, welcome folks. We'll give some time for some other folks to jump on. Hopefully you should be able to see a shared screen right now saying AYSO 2021. And if you have any pre-questions that we won't necessarily address right away, but just to put out there in case we don't address it, you can use the chat function to throw any questions in there. Thanks. So as we add some new folks to the Zoom, admitting them into the room, we're going to give folks a few more minutes still before we get started. We're just giving folks a few more minutes to get into the Zoom before I start the meeting. Thanks everyone for taking the time. Thanks for your patience as we admit more folks into the waiting room from the waiting room. This will be a recorded session that we'll post on our public website at ayso300.org. Feel free to use the chat function and in case we don't address some questions that you may have, and we'll get started in 2 minutes. Okay, everyone should be able to see a shared screen as I admit a couple more folks. And let's get started. So thank you all for taking the time tonight. If I seem distracted during this meeting, it's because I might see more folks knocking on the door of our weight room and just trying to get people in as the meeting progresses. So I apologize for that. And let me just make sure we've got the shared screen going. All right, so I have just a relatively quick presentation and want to save as much time for any questions that you have. And of course, what I hope is that questions that you have are answered through this presentation that are anticipated. My name is Drew McElligott. I'm Regional Commissioner, AYSO 300. We are one of the largest regions in the country. Currently, we have roughly 2,200 players. In a non-pandemic year, normally that's 2,600 players. And that's who we are. We, as AYSO, many of you know this, but I just want to, it's never something we want to just skim through. Our 6 philosophies, they inform us on really all of our decision making as a league, as a regional board, and that's who we are, the 6 philosophies. So what that means is that everyone plays. It's a mandate that every player on every team plays 50% of every game. And we ask our coaches to strive for equal playing time throughout the season for their players. This has come up recently importance because as we build our rosters, we do it in a very intentional way. We don't want to build our rosters certainly too small because we want it to be a good experience on Saturdays and during practices. We also don't want to build our teams too large, roster size wise, because everyone plays means everyone gets 50% of every game. And if we go past roster limits that we establish as a league, we risk some kids not getting equal playing time and not getting that 50% minimum playing time during games. So that's very important to us. Balanced teams, we have intra-squad games last fall and this fall, meaning that your team will not play other teams. They will play within the team that they have. And so for that reason, we built rosters larger than normal. So in effect, unless you're a playground player where there are no teams, in effect, your team is the size of 2 teams. Open registration, no tryouts for our core program, positive coaching. We preach that our coaches be positive, instructive, and encouraging. Good sportsmanship that really starts with our parents as models, our coaches, our referees, making sure everyone gets along. Player development is part of everyone plays is that we can't improve our skills as a player without getting touches on the soccer ball and being on the field versus being on the sidelines. In addition, we have our focus is on development over winning. Doesn't mean that winning's not part of sport or part of the game, but winning certainly isn't everything. We want to make sure that our kids are developing their skills, their soccer IQ, and developing as a team, playing as a team. So we are not just coaches and refs and field volunteers. We also have a regional board that helps make decisions and deals with various preparations this time of year as we head into a spring season. We meet each month. Usually we don't meet December or January, otherwise we're meeting every month. And May 10th is our next board meeting, 7:30 via Zoom. We've gotten better of posting this information on Facebook, on our public website, and we'll continue to do that so that parents know where to find us if they'd like to either join the board, and we do have vacancies and needs there, or just speak to the group. Let us know what you're experiencing, what you're wondering, how we can help and make this a great experience for your kids. We are all volunteers. We have some paid professional coaches, which we'll talk about in a minute. But myself and our regional board, we're all volunteers. And we do care about our kids, our own kids, obviously, but also your kids having a great soccer experience. To date, we've had nearly 500, probably over 500 as of today. As of yesterday, there's 493 new waitlist players registered. And I'm happy to report that only a handful, some playground players, and then we have our U5 girls division is currently full at capacity. We've had to turn very few kids away. In fact, we haven't turned any kids away yet because we're still finding out here and there that some kids are not returning from the fall. So we have probably 5, 6, 7 kids maybe tops on our actual wait list. All other players have been assigned to teams. And that 493 number is roughly 3 to 4 times the number it normally is in a typical February, March, and April. So we've been working on overdrive. If I look a little tired, that's probably why. We're doing our best because what we care about is getting kids out there playing soccer. We do, I know one comment already has been about uniforms, and we did have a Tuesday pickup for coaches to get extra uniforms for their new players. We also have a Thursday uniform pickup day tomorrow from 6 p.m. to 7:30. The way we schedule or handle uniform is we give them to the coaches, and the coaches disperse to their players. So this time of year, any given team will have maybe 3, 4, 2 new players, and the coach is the one that's picking up the uniforms to deliver to the kids either at their next practice, their next game. If parents have a uniform and the uniform doesn't fit, I can't guarantee you that we'll have a size that does fit, but we do have a pretty full stock of especially shorts, extra shorts, never worn before. And if parents want to come tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Spring Rock Park Shed, then feel free to do that and exchange the uniform that you have for one that fits. The game schedule, it's now live, and everyone hopefully is aware of that. And there's 2 ways you can see it: at our public website, which is ayso300.org, and our team website, where you would log in at ayso300team.org. In terms of COVID-related concerns and considerations, we have updated what was our fall policy, return to play, and it's available at this website in front of you. Importantly, we want parents to make sure that they're aware of what our requirements, what our guidelines are for reporting any exposure or infection for your player, or if you're a coach or a referee. We need to know if there's anything that's a potential exposure or infection within our league, obviously, and within our teams. And so that's really importantly on you as parents to make us aware of those situations, make your coach aware of those situations. Part of our protocols is to keep these things confidential. And so we have a very short staff that handles these things, myself included, in terms of following the protocols once we do find out about a player or a volunteer, either that's been exposed within their household or has been infected. So we need to know when those things are happening without a doubt. We then obviously proceed with contact tracing procedures, protocols, etc. Okay. Related, a major change from last fall. Last fall, we played with certain face covering or mask policy, but our players did not actively play wearing masks unless they wanted to. That was not a requirement. As of today, it is a requirement by the state. The state has an all sports policy. Having said that, they just updated their policy 2 days ago. And we knew this going in, and we've been living this where these policies do get updated, sometimes frequently, sometimes not so frequently. And for youth soccer, and therefore for our league, players are required to wear face coverings during active play. There are some exceptions to that. There's some phrasing in the all sports policy by the state about medical exceptions. And there's also a policy in that same document from the state that says if there is a medical exception, that we should be requiring to see a medical note or letter from the player's doctor expressing that exception or that medical reason. So we are doing our best to, first of all, keep track of what the state and public health guidelines are. It's a lot of work, frankly, for volunteers to keep up with this stuff. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying. And we're doing the best we can. And it is important to us that our policies reflect those public health requirements. As parents, there's a lot that we would ask you to do for safety reasons. And the most obvious is if your kids are sick, if you as a coach, referee, what have you, are sick, please stay home. And then there's these other items in front of you, pretty straightforward. Bathroom, wash hands before leaving the house, whether you're going to practice or a game. A safety item that has nothing to do with COVID, really, shin guards are required in our league for our players, for all players, and no jewelry also when coming onto the field. In general, from the COVID perspective, we are still looking, just as in the fall, to minimize contact as much as possible. Obviously, encouraging and now requiring mask and face covering, and then also trying our best to be socially distant out on the field. So what that means also is there's really no need for spectators at practices. It's not like we're sending police out to enforce this, but the smaller the gathering, the better, whether that's practices or games. So ideally, we're limiting who's out at the field during the week at practices to only players and team volunteers. And as I said, limiting contact. So as hard as it is, myself as a coach, I coach 2, maybe 3 teams, depending on how you look at things. Being a team, handshakes, high fives, those are all important to me as a coach. But at this time, we need to not be doing those things. As coaches, we need to ideally not be huddling kids in or bringing the team close together. We need just to continue to be mindful, continue to be vigilant. And even though so many things are in my view, improving. Obviously, vaccines. We're still not completely out of the woods, if even close out of the woods at this point. So thanks for following these policies and protocols. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. But just also know that we spend a lot of time as a group, as our leadership, in going through this stuff, in discussing, sometimes debating. And so just know that we are being thoughtful in how we approach these things. Moving on to weather, it's important that we try to point people to our public website at ayso300.org for field and game status updates. We do not email the league every time there's any kind of cancellation. Again, we want folks to check out the website. We'll update the website on Saturdays, no later than 7:30 a.m. after we've had some volunteers go out and check out the fields and see if they're playable or not. Sometimes park districts will close fields. Sometimes we'll agree with those closures. Sometimes we'll disagree. But at the end of the day, these are the park district's parks that they own. And so we have to follow their lead. We will sometimes, if there's a park district that closes, but others that remain open on a Saturday, there may be a mad scramble to relocate games, which takes a lot of work to do that, to find fields where there's an open spot. And usually we won't be able to relocate all games. Some of those games will just have to be canceled that day. So we always want to let the kids play. And if we can make it happen, we will. But some days it's just not possible. We certainly also follow our severe weather policy, which is that if there's any sign of thunder or lightning, play should be suspended immediately. That's regardless of whether it's a game or practice. So just please know that. That's what the coaches should be doing. That's what the referees should be doing. But frankly, as parents, if you hear thunder, see lightning, and everyone's just acting like everything's normal, please approach your coach in a respectful way and make sure that they know what the policy is. They should know, but sometimes we just need someone to be the adult in the room to make sure that play gets suspended when that happens. I want to just describe to you, explain what our Extra and United programs are, as well as Playground Soccer. These are programs that we offer thanks to paid professional trainers or coaches. Extra coaches is what we call them. Dean Aerosmith is our head director of coaching. And this season, we currently have 10 total extra coaches with very diverse backgrounds and geography of where their origin is. Last fall, we did not run clinics. Player clinics are clinics that are open to all divisions, all core players, registered players. It's just one example of how we, in a normal year especially, but we're going to do some of this this season, we want to offer extra soccer. There's no additional charge so long as you're registered. And there will be some more work involved because of contact tracing, where we may do a pre-registration, which we haven't done in the past. And we also will likely limit both the number of players that can participate in a given clinic, and we'll also likely, we may turn you away if you're, let's say, 10 minutes late. We're not interested typically in turning kids away, but we also need to keep things safe and responsible, and also make sure that we can, in fact, handle the contact tracing if something were to happen. So our extra coaches, they run our Playground Soccer program for 3 and 4 year olds. They run our extra team practices and extra games. That extra teams begin at U8, and that's where your child would play on 2 teams. What we call our core team, which is a parent coach team. And then in addition to that, an extra team with a professional coach. That means you have 1 more practice and 1 more game each week. You're also paying extra a little bit. And that's obviously to help cover the cost of the paid trainers. Those same paid trainers run our United teams, which is our teams that play in a club, in different club circuits against other club teams outside of our league. Whereas extra teams, that's what we would call an in-house league. We have enough players to build enough teams to where they're playing each other each week. Sometimes we have needs for hosting an extra coach, meaning they're living in your home. And that's one way that we're able to control costs for our fees for extra and United. And so if you have an interest in helping us out there, just shoot an email to hostfamily@ayso300.org to see if we need an extra bedroom for one of our extra coaches. Those same extra coaches are running camps throughout the year, especially in a non-pandemic year. Normally in a non-pandemic year, we're offering summer camps. We're offering, and these are all at extra cost to, beyond the core registration. And so we do have some summer camps scheduled at this web link that you can see and register at. We'll also be offering a summer playground session. We've not released those dates or registration yet. Normally, we're also offering a Thanksgiving camp, a spring break camp, which we did earlier this spring, and as well as some indoor options. Again, once we're out of the woods pandemic-wise, we'll be able to do much more there. Let's just talk real quick about registration for next year, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but registration will open online May 15th. That's for our next soccer year, which includes the fall 2021, spring 22 seasons. We will have a early bird registration fee and then a normal quote unquote fee, which will be a little bit more cost wise. We've not set those fees because we need to set our budget for next year and decide as a board what our registration fees need to be. We are completely nonprofit and we are fiscally responsible, and each year's different in terms of, do we need to purchase new goals? For example, we just bought 2 new sets of goals that we assembled today. So that will vary as far as what the league's costs are year to year. And then, sorry, one more thing about this. We will make announcements soon for player assessments for next year's extra teams. Again, those are entering second graders and older, as well as tryouts for our United teams. And that would be U12 and older. So that if you're an incoming 5th grader, that's when United becomes an option if interested. So in terms of COVID and next year, we don't know what things are going to look like precisely. We don't know what state guidelines are going to be, but we're certainly looking forward to a day when we can return to what we feel like is a more traditional AYSO experience. That means that our kids are outfitted with more fun designs and colors as far as their uniforms. They're playing other teams, not just within their own team. And it also means that we're building teams the way we used to build, which was not by school or geography, but building teams based first and foremost on balance. Our coaches at the end of each year rate players that are on their team to help us be able to create balanced teams the following year. For our board, we've got many needs, many vacancies, and we can always use more help for a region our size. If you want to see what positions are open or available, go to this web link here. There are always other needs here and there. We are an all-volunteer organization. Today we had several volunteers out assembling soccer goals at Spring Avenue School. We'll have more of those people on Friday doing a new set of goals at another field. And beyond that, There are times when we need some professionals. I work in real estate. I know nothing about accounting, and there are various different sort of professions that from time to time we could use some assistance on. So it's good to know who's out there that might be willing to do some, especially pro bono work where we need it. So just keep that in mind as well. Finally, I just want to list some of the other websites that are important to know depending on what you're looking for. I am going to share the screen in a minute to look at the all sports policy before we turn over to Q&A. But these are just some of the websites. I know that there's a lot that we throw at folks, especially coaches. For that, I apologize, but these are all things that help get prepared for the season. And you'll see, for example, our ayso300.org/volunteers website that lays out everything from background checks for coaches to, that are required to how to, get trained and learn about coaching soccer. So before we go to the Q&A, I just want to go to the all sports policy real quick. If I can find it. Okay, so just, it's something that I've been preaching a lot lately to folks, just how fluid some of these guidelines can be. And sure enough, I'm laughing because the last time I looked at this website, honest to God, it said April 12th, where it says updated. So this has been updated tonight. And now I have to read what it says. Not to you, of course, because I wouldn't do that to you. But, we're trying to keep up with this stuff. And so the last update before the 12th was sometime in March. And, obviously feel free to review this stuff yourself. We encourage you to, just so that we're all on the same page. But what I also want to just show you is, this is just one area where the face covering language is listed, and it's revisited later on. And so prior to March, and I'll just stop sharing. Prior to March, or prior to April 1st, this all sports policy actually, if I remember correctly, basically said that all sports had to wear masks at all times. That's now changed to where certain sports, where you can maintain a 6-foot distance, that it's not required during active play to wear masks. So just know that if these things change. And so we're trying to do our best to stay on top of it, but it can be a challenge. So I'm going to first go to the chat section, make sure there's nothing there that I didn't cover, and then we'll open up if anyone wants to ask directly any questions. How do we get uniforms for new players? As I said, tomorrow night, there is a window at Spring Rock, a window of time at Spring Rock Park in Western Springs. Players can exchange, parents can come if they like to exchange jerseys. Otherwise, please leave it to your coaches to get jerseys for you if you're a new player. And if you have any other questions outside of that, you can reach out to me and I'll help you as best as I can. I saw the sign up for spring 2021 season started on February 15th. So again, if you're interested for fall 2021, that registration will open May 15th. So you cannot currently register for next fall yet. I see a request for getting on a certain team. I want to just again reiterate that we have a handful of families and parents, waitlist players that have wanted to be on a specific team. At every division, we have roster limits. And again, as I mentioned from the beginning, our roster limits are based on everyone plays, making sure that we can, that our coaches can manage, and that it's possible to still have 50% of every game played by every player on that roster, on that team. What equipment does our kid need? Ball size. So if you go to our website, public website, ayso300.org, there's a link to the right of the screen that says division guidelines. And then you'll see links to each individual division. U5 through U8 is a size ball 3, is a size 3 ball. U10 through U12 is a size 4 ball, and U14 and U19 are size 5 balls. Every player in every division needs shin guards. We highly recommend soccer shoes or soccer cleats, but they are not required. Will I be sending out a copy of the presentation? Yes, we'll put the this presentation on the website, both as a PDF file as well as a recording on the homepage of the website. There is no cleat exchange tomorrow. Usually each year we do a soccer cleat exchange. Unfortunately, as a group, as a board, we've decided that's encouraging more gathering and contact, because everyone's touching every cleat and trying it on, that sort of thing. There may be varied opinions about that, but the bottom line is that we've decided as a group that we should not do a cleat exchange this season or this year. As I mentioned, clinics, we are going to be trying this season to offer some, and we'll be notifying the league once there's signups available for that. And that's just me reviewing the chat. If I missed something, I apologize. If anyone would like to unmute and ask anything else, or feel free. Anyone, any other questions that I can try to answer for you? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Okay, well, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this league. We really care about the experience that your players have. And one thing I want to definitely say is that if there are any issues you're having, anything that doesn't feel or look right, or you have questions, concerns about something, we don't ideally want to hear about it at the end of the year. We'd love to hear about it as it's happening. We are all volunteers, but that doesn't mean that we don't have time to address things that need to be addressed. Sometimes it plays out where we find out when it's too late for us to get involved as a region, as a leadership, and address whatever the issue may be. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Can I show up tomorrow? John, could you, oh, I see John, email me at rc@ayso300.org, John Hopkins. You may have already, but I'll check, and I'll get back to you on that. Any other questions before we go? All right. So thank you all. You know where to find me, hopefully, and I hope you and your kids have a great season this spring, and look forward to meeting you all in normal times, non-pandemic times. Stay safe and be well. And for those of you who met me at Spring Avenue School and helped assemble goals, thank you so much for your help. All right. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks.